Hello, all you wonderful readers. Welcome back to Shelf Check, brought to you by the Carolina Manga Library. Today, we're going to take a walk through the shelves and talk about cozy apocalypse, an emerging genre of books that are slow burn, post apocalyptic stories that give you all the warm fuzzies. As usual, we're going to recommend several graphic novels and tell you why they are amazing. As a reminder, we're only recommending series that are officially available in the US, either digitally or physically. Today's episode is brought to you by our wonderful patrons. Special thanks goes out to our honorary librarian, Sean Vahek, and our library assistants, DB Explorer and Selwyn Hector. Stay until the end of the broadcast to learn more about joining our Patreon. So with all that out of the way, let's get reading. So what exactly is cozy apocalypse, right? Most of you have probably never heard of it. I'm not sure if I coined the phrase myself, but it seems to really fit this genre. So you know those really cozy fantasy reads like Freren, Delicious in Dungeon, where there's stakes and there's action that happens, but 90% of the story is told through the characters and the dialogue and the action. It's just kind of a slow burn. It's supposed to make you feel calmer when you're reading, except for like the certain high points. So they did the same thing, but with a twist where the world has ended in some way. You know, it's been blown up. It's got a nuclear winter. It's got monsters rising everywhere. It doesn't really matter what flavor of apocalypse you're picking here. But the main plot focuses on a single character or a very small group of characters kind of wandering through the wasteland that is now the world. And like I said, there's spots of action and things in it, but the primary focus of the story is to kind of take in the ambiance and the tragedy of what happened around where the character is, and learn the backstory of the apocalypse, and learn a little bit about the usually mysterious character. So yeah, cozy apocalypse is going to be what we're talking about today. And I would love it if down in the comments you could tell me what's a great example. Now that you've heard the example and the explanation of what this is, what do you think is a good cozy apocalypse story? So the first recommendation this month is going to be one that most people probably thought of as soon as they heard the title of this, and it's going to be Girls' Last Tour. This is kind of the quintessential one that most people think of when they think about cozy apocalypse. Like if you just heard the phrase cozy apocalypse, if you've read or seen Girls' Last Tour, you're like, oh, that's the series she's going to talk about. So Girls' Last Tour is about two girls who survived the apocalypse, and they are just kind of existing in it. They have a motorcycle, and they aimlessly kind of wander through this nuclear winter wasteland, kind of meeting other survivors and just generally surviving. And it's very much a slice of life, but it's also very nihilistic. It's very dreary. It's very eerie at the same time, because there's the two girls, they're super cute. Okay, they're 100% like moe characters. They're just, too cute for the sinful world kind of things. So it's a stark contrast between the bleakness of the art style and the death and destruction that they're riding their motorcycle through, and the overall cuteness of the characters. So the reason I liked Girls' Last Tour so much is that it did a great job kind of defining this genre for me, because it's not a hard read. It's actually very simplistic, easy read. It's only 6 books long. The anime that was made covers the first 4 books. The ending is very different, so I'm not going to tell you what the ending is. But it's the kind of series that you can pick up and you can read it in a day, and it will do something to your brain. It'll kind of rewire it. It'll make you think about things like, okay, the world has ended. How am I going to do basic survival things like eat? How am I going to bake hardtack when I am, on the road all the time and I don't have any facilities? What am I going to do when I hear music for the first time? It's a wonderful look, a quiet look into the world that we fear is going to happen, and then what it would actually be like to be in that world and experiencing it after the fall. So Girls' Last Tour is definitely on all of my recommendation lists. Whenever somebody comes to me and they want something like Delicious in Dungeon, or they want something like Freren, I absolutely always go hand them Girls' Last Tour. So this next recommendation is a newer one that I was able to pick up over the last couple of months, and quick shout out to our patrons. We were only able to buy this series and a couple more that I'm going to talk about today because of our patrons. We pivoted our Patreon a few months ago to be just for buying new books. And I'm so grateful that we have such a great audience that's able to help us bring these new stories to new readers, so they don't just get left, rotting on a Barnes and Noble shelf somewhere. So this next one I'm going to tell you about is called Color of the End. And it's another post-apocalyptic story, but there was this virus spread around the world that makes you kind of grow bismuth crystals out of your body, essentially. And if you get infected, it's 100% mortality rate. You just keel over and die. You'll be breathing fine, and you just keel over and die, and these huge crystals will spread out of your body. And there's also these huge monsters that kind of brought the virus with them. It's not clear yet. So the main character is a girl who isn't quite human and isn't quite an alien and isn't quite an android. She's a something. She's like a person plus plus almost. And she and her little cutesy side character pet thing are wandering around this big city, and their job is to look for survivors of the disease and of the monster attacks, and also to gather the bodies of the dead, because the bodies can still spread the virus onto survivors. So whenever they find a dead body that died from this virus with bismuth crystals all over it, they will gather up the bodies and take them to a crematory facility that's run by robots. And that's kind of where they check in every day. And that's just their life. They go from place to place in the city, and they map it out, and they, build a little nest for themselves for a couple of weeks, and they clear out that whole area of dead bodies. They look at every single apartment, every single alley, every single box, and they are finding all the dead bodies. And it is so wonderfully eerie. It's so sad. The girl is not, she's perfectly content to do her job. She's not, she doesn't have a secret, tragic backstory or anything yet where she's secretly looking for her aunt or her uncle or her missing sister or something. She's just existing. She's got a job to do, and she's going to go through this apocalyptic world, and she's going to find these dead bodies, and then hopefully she'll find some survivors. She hasn't found any yet, but she's going to try. So I was sucked into this story immediately. It was the kind of story that really kind of grips you in the beginning and makes the characters super, super interesting and super, super fun. You really want to know what's going on with this girl. It's got some fantastic fight scenes when she comes up against some bad guys. I'm not going to tell you who they are because it's cool. But it's definitely a series that I'm going to be recommending quite often now that I have it. And Color of the End, I don't know where it's going. I don't care where it's going. I just want to go along for the ride. And I think that's kind of the epitome of this genre. You just want to go along for the ride. All right, so this next one is going to dive straight into the actual fantasy worlds, sort of. So this is called Luciole Has a Dream, and it's Luciole. Luciole. It's very French, and it means firefly. So this is a story about the world ended, and a whole bunch of people cryogenically froze themselves to survive the apocalypse. And our main character is a little kid who is traveling around with this person who basically sleeps all the time. They're like super lazy, they're always tired, and they call themselves a great wizard. Okay? So they're traveling around this absolutely gorgeous apocalypse. Probably, if I ever have to live through an apocalypse, oh my God, I hope it's this one. Because it's got flowers and trees and nature's kind of reclaiming everything, and it's all beautiful, and it's so pretty. The art style in this book is so stinking good. Oi. But the little kid just wants to find more humans. He's so excited to find more humans, so he's following this wizard guy who around, the wizard found his cryopod and woke him up and said, okay, you're going to wander around with me now, and we're going to find people, and I'm a great wizard, so you're going to listen to me. So, I mean, that in itself is just a really great hook, because it sounds like something just super cozy that you just want to kind of follow along with and learn what's going on. And the overall tone of this story, though, is melancholy. Like, the world ended, and our main character misses people. He remembers people, and he remembers that there were people in his life that he wanted to be with. But now he's so desperate to find someone else to connect to that he makes a couple of really bad decisions, like waking up people that never wanted to be woken up. But it's great because it's this hook at the end where you find out that the magician, the wizard guy, really is a wizard guy. and he can see things, and it's creepy. Whatever the heck is chasing him and chasing this little kid, you can't see it, but you can hear it and you can feel it. And oh, it's so wonderfully creepy and eerie. But the story itself is just a super quiet walk through these beautiful landscapes, and then they the interactions they have with other things they find along their way. It's such a great story and a great hook for a first volume. I'm really, really interested to see where it goes. I hope they make an anime out of this, because I just want to see how pretty this would look in color. Like, I sit here and I imagine the kind of beautiful soft colors and the colors of the flowers and the way the sky would be kind of hazy and blue. And just trust me, when you look at this story after you finish listening to me talk, even if you go look at it on Amazon, you just look at the cover and you're like, oh, this is pretty. And that's the way I hope that you guys feel about it. So I really hope y'all check it out. Luciole Has a Dream. Such a good series. Okay, this next one is post-apocalyptic, but it is pure fantasy, thank goodness. So Somali and the Forest Spirit is a story about a little human who is found by a forest golem, essentially. He's kind of like a robot, but he's kind of not like a robot. He's more like a living stone. Humans in this world they're extinct. They're on the verge of extinction, because long ago they got into a war with the animals of the world. And the animals, now they can walk and they can talk and they can, they take on human forms and clothes and things like that. And they've been hunting the humans to near extinction, just, in revenge for what happened and because humans are tasty. So they disguise the little kid, Somali, they disguise them as a little fox person, and they are wandering around trying to find a safe place to leave the humans. So the golem has a goal, and he has 1 year to do it, because in a year his lifespan is going to come to an end. So there's a ticking clock in this, which is always fun. Most of the story is them kind of navigating the society and navigating the towns and what people are, big air quotes, the animal people are like and what they're doing with their lives. But the underlying urgency and desperation of the main characters is present throughout the whole thing. They have to find somewhere safe for this kid to grow up. They have to find other humans. They have to find somebody to raise this kid, because the golem cannot do it. And I was afraid in the beginning that this was going to be one of those weird ones where the kid falls in love with his parent, or the parent falls in love with the kid. There are a couple of those. And I was pleasantly surprised that it is a pure 100% child parent dynamic. The little kid calls the golem daddy and dad and father and all those great appellations we give to the male parental figure. And if anybody threatens this kid, this golem goes 100% feral, and it's so creepy and it's great. Oh man. There's some absolutely wonderful shootout scenes between the golem and the bad, human hunting animals. And it's just such a great story. I'm so happy that I got to experience it. I 100% bought it because the cover was pretty. I saw it on Amazon. I was like, oh, that looks kind of cute. We're going to buy that. But now I'm really, really glad that we have it, and we're going to collect the rest of it, because I have to know where this is going. I just have to know. I need to know if there's more humans. I need to know what happened. I need to know if this kid's going to be okay. I need to know if the golem's going to die. I just need to know. So the next one I'm going to recommend is extremely similar to the first book we talked about, Girls' Last Tour. This is Touring After the Apocalypse. This is very much, obviously, somebody read Girls' Last Tour and they were like, okay, what if we took the same idea where it's two girls wandering the apocalypse on a motorcycle, but let's make it less dark and eerie and depressing, and let's make it a little more lighthearted and fun. Let's make it cozier. So Touring After the Apocalypse is about these two girls who are literally touring. They're literally sightseeing. They want to go see, pieces of destroyed buildings that were famous. They want to go see famous landmarks and things that used to be parks. And the stark difference between Touring After the Apocalypse and Girls' Last Tour is that Touring After the Apocalypse, it's all light and pretty, and the sun is out, and there are animals, and there are, there's wildlife. They can stop and go fishing. They can stop and hunt. Whereas Girls Last Tour was very stark and bleak and very much focused just on the two girls themselves and the darkness of the world. This one is very much about what's left and what's remaining of the world. It is definitely a lighter hearted read with some absolute gut punches of plot in the middle of it. But this one, to me, more than Girls Last Tour, this is going to be the new face of cozy apocalypse because it's much, much sweeter and softer and just the kind of story that you're going to get sucked into, and you're just going to kind of experience this new world through the eyes of these two girls who are traveling through the apocalypse. So a very, very good series. So the last recommendation I have for you all is going to be a little less cozy than the rest. It's called Coppelion, Coppelion. And it's about these three girls who live in a radiation zone city. And their job is to go through the city and find survivors of the radioactive plague that wiped out basically the whole world. And they're not human. They're definitely not human. They were like lab grown by the government to be specifically immune to this radiation sickness. And they can, wander around without breathing masks, and they can meet the people who are still in the city, like the super uber preppers and the military folks that stay, and they have gas masks and stuff because they're not going to let the government shove them around. No siree. So these three girls go into the city every day, and their job is to bring people out of the city so that they won't be dying anymore. Their goal is to save as many people as possible. This is very much more an action-based series than it is exactly cozy. But the reason I included it in this list is because it was the first series I read of this genre several years ago, well before Girls Last Tour came out. And I read it back when Crunchyroll's manga app was still out. I actually saw the anime first, and then I figured out that Crunchyroll had the manga, and I was really excited because the anime is so good. Oh my gosh, it's so good. But the manga really gripped me almost immediately because these girls don't act like government agents. They act like three normal high school girls. They wear, their high school uniforms, and they are just kind of living their lives, and they joke back and forth as they're wandering through the city, and they're like, you totally have a crush on the general, and oh my God, no, don't say that, things like that. It's just super, super cute. And at the same time, you can tell that they got a job to do, and they are here to do it, and they're here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and bubblegum is illegal. That's the kind of vibe this story has. So I really hope that you can find it and check it out. I didn't get a chance to check and see if it's still on Crunchyroll. I don't remember if Crunchyroll's manga app still works. But I hope that you can find it because Coppelion is definitely one that came out too early. I think that if it had come out now, it would be much more popular than it was when it came out. When it came out, the big thing that was really popular was like the very beginnings of the isekai genre and the huge magical protagonist kind of people, that whole era, the beginning of My Hero Academia's era. So I just think it came out at the wrong time, and that's really sad because there's a lot of stories like that just came out at the wrong time. Huh. We should probably do that as a panel, as a episode, shouldn't we, guys? Huh. Interesting. Welcome to the Q&A portion of the podcast. This is where we take your questions from our Discord and we answer them as many as we can every single episode. If you are interested in having your questions read out by our head librarian and then answered in funny, interesting ways, go ahead and jump on our Discord. You can either get it from our Patreon or you can actually join it from our website if you'd like. There are certain channels that you can only get by joining the Patreon, but the Ask a Librarian, that one's available for everybody. So any burning questions you have about manga or manga collecting or libraries or the Carolina Manga Library in general, just jump on there and ask. Even if you just want to know my opinion on a certain series, just go ahead and jump on there and ask. So our first question comes from user, please read Bully Me Miss Villainous. Do you ever hear character voices in your head while you're reading? Oh boy, do I ever. Okay, so my husband is also a librarian, and we have this really cutesy habit of kind of reading stuff out loud together. He's really, really good at voices. I am not as good as he is, but he's much better than me. But we will constantly have debates over, you know, so here's a character, who should play him, who should be cast as this, or, Keanu Reeves needs to be in a better superhero movie. What superhero should he play? So I do hear character voices in my head all the time, to the point where there was, gosh, what was it? It was a manga that I really, really liked. I think it was, it was the redub of Sailor Moon. When they came out with the new voices for Sailor Moon in the English, when they redubbed it, I was very confused as to why certain characters no longer sounded like they used to. But I'm happy that the new dub got there. But it's so weird, because like you'll hear a voice in your head and you'll read this whole story and you'll see what they look like in your head. But then when you see the adaptation, you're just like, no, that's not my person. Go away. Stop that. Why? It's like with Keanu Reeves and Constantine. Okay, when Keanu Reeves played Constantine in the Constantine movie, that's not Constantine. Constantine is not a very, very attractive, Asia Pacific American. He is a blonde, gruff, chain smoking British guy who kind of hates everything. But I mean, I love the Constantine movie. It's one of my guilty pleasure movies. So even if something is, not what you're expecting, it can still be a good thing. Our next question comes from Chai Dream Latte. Where do you get your amazing sparkle dresses? Okay, so hi listeners. If you haven't actually met me at one of my events yet, I have become semi-prolifically famous for wearing these incredibly sparkly, long ball gowny dresses. And I mean, they are so sparkly. Okay, they are different colors and they're spandex and they're all glittery in some way. And I actually design all my dresses over at a website called Coquetry, Coquetry clothing. They do custom rave clothing, and everything they made is handmade. It's based here in the US. It is not out from China. It's actually, their Instagram is fascinating, because they'll actually show them actually in their workshop making these different costumes and these outfits. They do leggings and dresses and rompers, and everything on the site's customizable. 100% of it is made to order. It's just a really, really great small business, and I simply love it. And I usually design a new dress every year. So I absolutely love Coquetry. I just love them to death. We have a couple of announcements for you guys this month. Next month is our summer gauntlet, so we will be at Anime Central in Chicago, and then right immediately next weekend we'll be at MomoCon in Atlanta. So Anime Central is in Rosemont, Illinois, and quick sneak peek, that was Head Librarian's first anime con way back in 1999. Shows you how old I am. But that will be May 16th, 17th, and 18th. And that's in Rosemont Convention Center in the Hyatt. We will have the whole library there. We've been there for many years. We're very happy to come back this year. And then immediately following that, Memorial Day weekend, we will be at MomoCon in Atlanta. I can easily tell you there is no convention that loves us more than MomoCon. We have been going to MomoCon for many, many years, and it's one of my personal favorite conventions, because again, I've known this convention since it was a little college con, and goodness gracious, it's come so far now. So we can't wait to see all of you either in Chicago or in Atlanta. Remember, if you want us to come to a convention, make sure that you reach out to your local convention and tell them that you want us to come. We are like literacy vampires. We have to be invited into conventions, because we can't just show up with a 5,000 book library and say, hey, give me a space. It has to be planned out in advance. So if you're interested in having somebody, invite us, jump on our website, carolinamangalibrary.com, and see if that's something that your local convention wants us to come do. So other than that, we will see you in Chicago, and we'll see you in Atlanta in May. Thanks for joining us in this month's episode of Shelf Check, brought to you by the Carolina Manga Library. This episode was written and recorded by the Carolina Manga Library and edited by NoodleBoyMedia. You can find information about NoodleBoyMedia on all social networking sites. We return next month with, why did I read this? Why did you make me read this? Remember, if you're interested in supporting the library, consider becoming a patron. Our patrons get access to the podcast a day early, as well as behind-the-scenes fun like bloopers and transcripts. We're also on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Discord, YouTube, and Facebook. You can find links to all of this on our website, www.carolinamangalibrary.com. And until next month, y'all, we'll see you in the stacks.